coming to you from Sunday School in bright, shiny San Antonio, Texas, the second most powerful, passionate, purposeful coach and speaker in the world. Hope you guys are ready for a great Sabbath day, great relaxing day if you choose to celebrate that today. So I want to have a quick conversation with you because it's something that sounds like rhetoric to a lot of people. A lot of people don't really even get it or understand it. And so it's my hope to make it simple. That's my goal, is to help take potentially complex and complicated ideas and to break them down in such a way that a normal person like me can actually take something that could be potentially complicated and make it really, really simple. Get this, not for knowledge sake, not for knowledge sake, but for action's sake. Okay, let me tell you the difference between knowledge and action. Is you've heard the road to hell is paved with good intentions. What you would like to do, what you think about doing, what you hope to do is literally zero compared to what you actually commit to do and you actually engage in doing and taking action with. So let's have a quick conversation about this relationship with God. Relationship. Do you have a personal relationship with the Lord? You've heard this said over and over and over again, and like I say, it sounds like rhetoric to a lot of people. So I mean no disrespect. You know, I put a lot of thought into what I'm going to title my posts. And, you know, we've all had those books, you know, Microsoft for Dummies, Quicken for Dummies, Financing for Dummies, Investment for Dummies. Well, today I'm just going to say Relationship with God for Dummies. I'm going to make it real easy. So I had the opportunity in my coaching practice at one time because we use the Ziegler Wheel of Life, which deals with, you're talking about, you've got your physical life, you've got your spiritual life, you have kind of your mental life, you have your career life, you have your financial life, you have, you know, like your family relationships, like your marriage and your parenting. There's several areas of your life that if you were to place a little bit of attention and some consistent, simple activities on and into, could have a huge, huge, huge change in those areas. Most people think it's going to be a huge event that's going to make a huge difference, and it's typically not. It's typically a event moment that comes from a light going off in your head, which is what I hope to deliver every day. A light going off, and you have a moment or an event that you can then make a decision to engage in a process to move forward and move towards. So relationship with God for Dummies. I had a person who came to me in coaching that said, I'm not here for the business. Business is great. Things are fine. I'm doing everything wonderful. There's a spiritual aspect to your coaching program that I'm curious about. So I'm just wondering if you can work with me in that area. And I said, absolutely. We're more than happy to do that. So I am going to encourage you, if this sounds like goofy, this whole, well, brother, do you have a relationship with the Lord? You know, it's not even the Lord, right? You know, when people get weird, it's the Lord. If you don't know a weird Christian, you might be one, so be careful. Don't be weird, people. Show love. Show love. That's, what a revelation. Show love. How do you have a relationship with God when, let's be completely frank, who really understands the mind and heart of God? Who really knows the heart and mind of God? Hey, Cookie, look, I'm driving. I can actually see people coming in. Hey, Melanie, I have an opportunity to do something I never do before, which is actually look at this, because when I'm driving, I don't look at who's joining in. So thank you for being here. I hope you guys are encouraged and that you choose to share this with folks. So how do you have a relationship with God when, first of all, it's really, really borderline impossible to know Him intimately? What I know about God can fit in a thimble. In terms of water in a thimble, I'd say, here's my knowledge of God. And behind me is the Atlantic Ocean of what He really is. So we have to deduce it to a couple of basics as a foundation for this relationship. And the basics I want to reduce it down to are this. You have to come to terms with that He is good and that He wants good for you. That He's a good, good Father. And that He really wants good for you. I know, Steve, but why do bad things happen to good people? What about all these storms and all these folks who are innocent? Why would God do that? Why would God take a child? Welcome to my world. These are the things we don't understand. We just have to recognize that we see a finite glimpse of time based on what we think is happening in other people's lives, and we make judgments and conclusions based on that, where Almighty God has the ability to see from a 10 billion foot view, past, present, future, everything going on with that person that has brought them to that place in life, knowing that all things are working together for good for those who love him, who are called according to his purpose. We have to just understand that he is bigger than we are and sees more than we see. And then we enter into this equation, something called free will. God did not create robots and said, I'm going to just sprinkle this little dust on humanity. That's going to make everybody love me. So it'll just be fabulous because everybody will love me. This is not what he did. He endowed men and women with free will. This is ridiculous when you think about it. Think about this. Would you marry somebody that was forced to love you? You know, I love them. They don't really love me. I'm going to force them to love me. I'm going to force them to love me. Okay? That's not true love. In order to have someone in a relationship with you who truly loves you, they have to have the power to reject you. In order to truly have someone love you, they have to have the ability to walk away from you. If someone doesn't have the ability to walk away from you and the choice to even hate you, you can't experience true love. So he gave us this free will. So most of the time when we say, why did God let that happen? No, somebody stupid made a bad decision. Somebody stupid made a bad choice, and the consequences of their power to exercise their free will, making a terrible decision, resulted in a terrible result. Can't blame them. You just give people free will or you don't. So, relationship with God for dummies. Number one, we have to agree that, okay, he's good. I'm going to just take this at face value. He's good. Number two, I'm going to have to give up my right to question why certain things happen. Because there's just no explanation for certain things. And here's the exercise that I gave that coaching client that day that I will give those of you who sincerely and genuinely think, how can I really have a relationship with God? And here's what I suggested to the coaching client. I said, here's what you're going to do. When you were a kid, did you ever have an imaginary friend? Did you ever have just an imaginary friend? And most people had an idea of what that is. You guys, I'm not talking about like, lock you up with a jacket with really long arms because, somebody's there with you. I'm talking about, if you're playing outside as a kid or whatever, an imaginary friend. I said, for the next 30 days, I want you to pretend you have an imaginary friend who is unbelievably amazing. Unbelievably amazing. Just super, super cool. Knows everything about you and totally doesn't care about all the little things you're struggling with. Just absolutely adores you. Okay? And they're with you all the time. Pretty much all the time. Number one, you have an imaginary friend. Number two, after you have this imaginary friend, you must talk to this imaginary friend for the next 30 days. Every time you think of them, and you can only say 2 words for the next 30 days. 2 words. That's it. You're limited to 2 words. We're going to make this really simple. 1, you have an imaginary friend. 2, you can only say 2 words to them every time you think of them. Every time you see something beautiful like a sunrise. Every time you're just conscious of the fact that there's warm shower water running down your back when you're in the shower. When you go into the closet and you have more than 5 pairs of shoes to look at. When you get into your car and you realize you actually have a vehicle to drive. When you realize we're out of the gas crisis of 2017 and you can actually go and get gas now without having to sit in line for 2 hours. When you see certain things, good morning, Miss Jenny. When you see certain things like this that you are appreciative for, you can only say 2 words to your imaginary friend. Who can guess what those 2 words are? For 30 days. You're right. I heard you. I heard you say that. Thank you. The 2 words are, thank you. You see the sunrise, you tell your imaginary friend, thank you. You feel that warm shower water on your back? Thank you. You walk into your closet, you have more than 2 pairs of shoes? Thank you. Maybe you woke up next to somebody that half the time you love and half the time you want to strangle, and yet they're still there? Thank you. Maybe you have a beautiful child? Thank you. Maybe you are suffering with something and yet you have enough unction to get up and function. Thank you. Maybe you go to Taco Cabana and get a nasty taco for breakfast. Thank you. Maybe you go to Starbucks and you can spend more on a cup of coffee than most people in a third world country will spend in a month just to survive. Thank you. 2 steps. Imaginary friend, there all the time. Step 2, you can only say 2 words for 30 days. Thank you. You cultivate a awareness of a presence outside of yourself that is invisible, and you create an environment of gratitude, being thankful. This, my friends, is creating a relationship with God for dummies. Now, for those of you that are like me and you're somewhat of an overachiever, I'm going to cut you a little slack and say that if you want to say a little bit more than thank you, that's up to you. But I'm just asking for you just to work on the thank you thing, because this is Walking with God for Dummies, right? If you choose to say more, you can say that. What might that sound like? Thank you that I have this car. I remember when I first moved out, I had that little Hyundai. It sounded like a booger. It was like, I think it was called a Sonata or something like that, a Sonata. I had that crappy little car that had been in the wreck, and the frame was bent, so that when I'm driving down the road, it was kind of sideways-ish like this, with the booties out on the side, and the wheels were kind of funny, and my tires would get a little weird, and they would always, every time I'd go to put air in the tires, the guys would go, "Do you realize your car's bent? The frame's bent. That's why your tires are wearing out." Remember that? Remember that time that the gear got stuck because it was standard? Golly, I've come a long way. I've got a really cool car. Thank you. Thank you for my cool car. This is just a simple thing, but I'm really grateful for it. You want to take it past thank you? It's up to you. You want to take it to a whole nother level? You start saying thank you for the stuff you don't understand that hurts. Thank you for this challenging relationship with my teenager. Thank you that the easiest part of getting married was getting married. Thank you for the struggles and the challenges that we're having that are causing us to become different people who can either become bitter or better. Thank you for helping us to get better. And oh, by the way, if you've got some nuggets of what I can do and how I can do this, it'd be great. You can take it to whatever level you want to. I'm just asking you to do a couple things. Let me recap relationship with God for Dummies. Number 1, you have to walk into this deal being okay with that you don't understand him, you can't understand him, you never will, on this earth. So you're just going to have to conclude that he's good, he cares about you, and he adores you. What does that mean? That means if God had a desk in his office, your picture would be on it. And it would be dusted off, and it would be set right across from him. The apple of his eye. He adores you like crazy. You just have to come to this place if you're going to have a right relationship that's not based on rules or regulations or doing this or following that or being just right. You're just going to be you and realize there's nothing you could do that would make him adore you more than he already does. You have to start from the foundation of he's a good, good father. And he's crazy about me, even with all my little quirks and inconsistencies and issues that I'm dealing with. Even the things I don't tell people about, the things that I'm embarrassed about. He loves me like crazy because he's a good, good daddy. You have to start from that place. Number 2, imaginary friend time. If you've never had a relationship with God and you just go to church, just pretend you have an imaginary friend for the next 30 days that's there with you all the time. And every time you see something that stirs in your heart, that makes you grateful or causes you to pause in gratitude, you can only say 2 words: thank you. So that's my challenge for you today. If you take the 30-day challenge, here's what I can guarantee you. Sadly, statistically, 98% of people will not do it because our generation in America wants microwave everything. Nobody wants to put in the time and the focus to master and really, really, really experience the joy and the beauty of being highly engaged and committed to something over a period of time when there's no immediate reward, and defer gratification, realizing that if I do this long enough and hard enough, it's going to come together for me. Most people don't have it in them to do that. They have it in them to do that. Let me correct that. Most people are not willing to commit to that. I hope you're the 2% that does commit to it, because if you do begin with this conversation of gratitude, thank you. What a great sunrise. Thank you. Oh my gosh, September in San Antonio, it's not burning up outside. This weather is great. Thank you. Look at the crepe myrtles popping. So crazy that they're popping this late in the season. Thank you. imaginary friend. 2 words for 30 days. Thank you. This is how you create and cultivate the beginning of what can become the most rewarding, the most adventurous, the most fulfilling, the most amazing love affair with someone who will never leave you, never forsake you, never betray you, never lie to you, never tear you down, never beat you up, never shame you. You have the opportunity to find in this cultivating relationship everything you are likely looking for in someone else, or something else, or some distraction, or some anesthetizing chemical or liquid to numb the pain. This is where the good stuff is found. This is where the best stuff is found. So I encourage you, begin with your imaginary friend. 2 words only, thank you. If you want to take it to a higher level, you do that. But if you begin there, you begin the opportunity to cultivate what could potentially be a botanical garden of gorgeous and beautiful, colorful, fruit-bearing, flower-bearing plants, this garden of your life. If you'll begin today, the choice is yours. Have a great day, guys.